This is Joe Hanley, a lecturer in social work, and thanks so much to so many people for really great feedback on my last video. Building on that previous attempt and this feedback, I'm giving it another go, and this time I'm going to move beyond looking at networks broadly and focus on one specific organization, Frontline, and one specific aspect of that organization, which would be their links to some quite controversial financial networks and financial interests. So this topic is particularly important because Frontline's founder and longtime CEO, Josh McAllister, is now running the Children's Social Care Review in England that has promised huge changes to children's services. And many are quite worried that this will include privatization of children's services or an increased privatization of what is already quite a lot of privatization in children's services, but also then just generally for an organization that has become increasingly influential in social work and increasingly hoovers up more and more public funds that could be going into other services, I think it's pretty important to ask what are the values behind the organization and who they are cozying up to. So let's begin.
Hold on to your butts.
So for those who don't know, Frontline is a fast-track social work qualifying training organization, and it's based on the Teach First model. Now, notably, Teach First is an organization that has its own quite problematic links to private interests, but I'm not making a 10-part Ken Burns documentary series here, so I really don't want to go even try to go down that road. So with Frontline, let's start at the beginning. The Boston Consulting Group are a founding partner of Frontline. They've worked with McAllister and Frontline in a number of projects, and they continue to be represented on Frontline's board. Now, like me, you might ask, what are a consulting organization based in America doing influence and guiding massive changes to the social work profession in England? And really, it's difficult to know where to start with the Boston Consulting Group. You know, do we want to talk about the leaked documents that showed they helped facilitate billionaire Isabel dos Santos to plunder public funds in Angola, or how they are supporting the development of a 500 billion pound megacity project in Saudi Arabia that's displacing local tribes. But let's look closer to home. Their role in the 37 billion pound test and trace project that was recently confirmed by a committee of MPs to have failed in its main objective to break the chains of COVID transmission. 37 billion pounds is a really incomprehensible number to me and probably most people watching this, but not to a consulting firm like BCG, who are involved in a 500 billion pound megacity. So, and remember stories months ago about consultants working for Test and Trace being paid £7,000 per day as part of the Test and Trace program? Well, those consultants were none other than Boston Consulting Group consultants. And despite their failures on that project, it was reported at the end of October 2021 that they're still getting paid these vast sums and even holding what the Times referred to as, quote, lavish cocktail parties, end quote, while COVID cases continue to rage on their watch. Michael Gove, unsurprisingly, has been defending this funding use as a good use of public funds, but it's also worth noting that Gove was instrumental in the founding of Frontline. So, those political networks are probably something for another video anyway.
You know what? I'm not gonna go down that road.
All right, now, I know what you're thinking. There's no way that you can top the Boston Consulting Group. Well, let's try. Enter KPMG. So, Frontline are partnered with the KPMG Foundation. KPMG are an accounting firm behind the foundation, massive, massive accounting firm. So, among other things, they received a $50 million fine in 2019 for using stolen regulatory information to cheat on audit inspections. Also revealed during that scandal was that some of the senior auditors at KPMG regularly cheated on the mandatory ethics and integrity tests that they were required to undertake. For social work, a profession that should be founded on ethics and integrity, this type of partnership is really problematic. Let's hope that that culture of sidestepping safeguards regarding ethics doesn't diffuse through their partnership with Frontline. KPMG also recently had to pay $84 million for auditing failures around fraud in China. And honestly, just Google KPMG and the word fine. There are so many. Bringing us back closer to home again, in 2021, KPMG were fined near record £13 million for misconduct that pushed the bedmaker silent night. Many of you may sleep on their pillows or their beds. Towards insolvency, so that a private equity group could dump the costly pensions of over 1,000 staff members. And just for some icing on this absolute shit cake, KPMG's UK chair recently had to resign for telling staff during the pandemic to, quote, stop moaning and, quote, stop playing the victim card about the impact that COVID was having on them. He's also referred to as unconscious bias as, quote, complete and utter crap. Yeah, that's great company to keep.
Friends like these, huh, Gary?
Frontline's growth and sustainability partner, whatever the hell that means, are Credit Suisse, a bank that I had to look up how to pronounce because I don't run in circles where Swiss banks mired in scandal are a regular topic of discussion.
Credit Suisse.
So Credit Suisse, just this year, 2021, have been fined nearly £350 million by global regulators and made to forgive hundreds of millions of pounds more worth of debt as a result of a tuna bond scandal in Mozambique, one of the poorest countries in the world. They also played a role in the collapse of major financial organizations, Greensill Capital and Archegos Capital in recent years. Let's hope that this isn't the type of growth and sustainability they wish to bring to social work.
Wait, there are more of these?
Actually, there are many more.
And Barclays Bank are represented on Frontline's board. Not exactly sure why a bank would need to be represented on the board of a social work organization, but whatever, let's check out their track record. And as I was prepping this video, The Guardian had actually done my work for me. On the 1st of November 2021, they released an article, quote, 10 years of Barclays scandals. That outlined their role in everything from the 2008 financial collapse to the 2020 Epstein investigation. Oh, and Barclays are also the #1 funder of fossil fuels in Europe, regardless of how many environmental sustainability policies they release.
Make it stop! Oh, make it stop!
Okay, let's now do a quick fire round, or I'll never get through all of these. Frontline are partnered for some reason with Sundog Pictures, who the BBC cut ties with after their misleading documentary on Aboriginal populations in Australia in 2017. They're partnered with the Garfield Weston Foundation that in 2010 was reprimanded by the Charity Commission for £900,000 in donations to Tories. They're partnered with Baker McKenzie, the biggest law firm in the USA, who were found in the recent Pandora Papers leaks that you might have heard of and other leaks to play a central role in facilitating offshore tax havens. But you know, don't worry, Frontline have other law representation. They also have a law firm, Herbert Smith Freehills, who were recently investigated by the Solicitors Regulation Authority for their role in the financial collapse of 2008, a complaint that actually originated with Conservative MPs. And then they're partnered with Freshfields Bruckhaus Derringer, who had to pay €10 million to German authorities for their role in the biggest tax fraud in Germany's history, and their global head of tax ended up resigning and subsequently being jailed.
That's enough, thank you.
So really, the question needs to be asked, are these types of organizations attracted to Frontline, or are Frontline attracted to these types of organizations? You know, of course I recognize that in my naivety, we may now just live in a world where this is how large private organizations do business and they have their own rules. But that doesn't change the fact that they should not have their hands anywhere near the social work profession. There are a number of other organizations with mixed track records listed as Frontline partners, ACO, Fidelity, LinkedIn. I'd encourage anyone on the fence about these issues to Google any of these organizations plus the word scandal and then come up with your own conclusions based on your own morals and ethics. It should be noted, though, that around the time that McAllister was appointed to chair the Children's Social Care Review, Frontline actually removed the supporters section from their website. So that's where the supporters were previously listed, making it more difficult to identify these issues. I'll allow you to infer what you want from that decision and the timing of that decision, in particular in light of the information that I've outlined here. But thankfully, some people still care about transparency, and the website, as it looked in September 2020, can still be viewed in the Wayback Machine where it was archived. There's a link in the description. So this does mean, though, that there could be new partnerships that we're not aware of, and future partnerships that we won't be aware of. I hope this video can take a small step in peeling back the curtain on Frontline and McAllister's his rise to prominence, and more importantly, pull back the curtain on the company kept by the chair of the ongoing Children's Social Care Review. All right, one piece of feedback that I obviously failed to take on board was to keep the videos short, as this one is almost certainly longer than my last one, so I definitely need to shut up. And I promise the next one will definitely be shorter. But once I started looking into this stuff, there was just so much, and honestly, this video could have been much, much longer. And considering recent political events and corruption, I think these points are more pertinent than ever. There's a certain irony for sure in the care review chair positioning himself as like this sort of challenger of profiteering in children's social care, while at the same time owing much of his career to these types of organizations. You know, and in exchange, at minimum, he's been letting those involved in these organizations use social work as a way of feeling better about or taking focus away from the shenanigans that they get up to elsewhere. But more likely, his role has been one of opening up access to the increasingly privatized and profitable world of children's social care. Neither of these should be acceptable. And, you know, if McAllister was really interested in stamping out unethical organizations plundering children's social care, he would start by looking closer to home.